Will go and have staff right now. I was going to see somebody nodding their head pretty soon. It's going to go and see if we can find that, and I will endeavour to table it by the end of the day if it can be.
Now, Member for Preston, on your final supplementary.
Well, after the major joke was over here, people laughing at the black community, and that's exactly what it was in this House.
Order. Order. Order, please. Order, please. Order. No. Order, please. Order, please. The honourable member, I believe, is taken out of context what's happening here in the House, and I, from where I'm sitting, have seen no one here laugh at anyone. And I believe the honourable member is taking that out of context, and I ask him to put his final supplementary, please.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'll put it in context. The residents of Preston area were told before this class action suit they were not allowed to go to school if they couldn't answer some predetermined questions put forth by the government and the school board, and that is fact. As a result of many regressive processes, many adults did not have the opportunity to receive a proper education in the black community, and that's in my lifetime and your lifetime. It appears that this government is not interested in a proper education in the black community. Will the minister commit again today, I want to hear it again because it didn't happen last time, to follow through on all the elements of the class action suit and ensure they're done for the betterment of the black community and ensure the people in the black community get a proper education today, which they didn't have the opportunity of years ago?
The Honourable Minister of Education.
Mr. Speaker, the province is committed to implementing the Black Report, and as will appear in estimates, is that it has committed considerably more resources to the implementation of the Black Report. I really am not familiar with the class action suit with which the member speaks. I will review it, Mr. Speaker, and we'll table it for this House, and I expect that many of the items in that would have been addressed by 10 years ago when the Black Report was tabled.
The honourable member for Cape Breton Nova.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, my question through you is for the Premier. We have heard a great deal in this House today about the shameful practices by some Crown agencies in awarding large bonuses to their executives without any public disclosure. One of these agencies in questions is the NSLC. Last fall, we revealed that on May 2nd and May 4th weekend, the executives at the NSLC were celebrating. They were happy about receiving a share of $96,000 in checks handed out to them by the board.
Peter, nice money.
The acting president, Ken Barbette, got a $35,000 check. These bonuses were given out after, in some cases, of only being on the job for 6 months. Will the Premier inform this House what is the maximum percentage of salary an NSLC executive could earn in a bonus?
The Honourable the Premier.
I refer that to the acting minister.
The Honourable Minister of Justice.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the NSLC board reviews the question of bonuses for the president in accordance with his contract, Mr. Speaker. In this case, that was what was done, and the board made a decision about what bonus to award to Mr. Barbette.
Honourable member of Cape Breton Nova, on your first supplement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. 6 months on the job. Nice bonus. Well, Mr. Speaker, it's certainly good work at the NSLC if you can get it. When Ken Barbette was moved from acting president into the job on a permanent basis, his contract provided for a salary of $135,000. In addition to this, the bonus amount he is eligible for tops out at a stunning $40,500. My math, Mr. Speaker, that represents 30% of his salary. I bet you many people in my riding would love to be eligible for a 30% bonus.
Oh, yeah.
Mr. Speaker, so I ask the Premier, why do you believe it's okay to give such a well-paid individual the opportunity to earn an additional $40,000 in bonuses just to sell beer?
The Honourable the Premier.
I refer that to the acting minister.
The Honourable Minister of Justice.
You know, Mr. Speaker, the honourable member shows an appalling lack of knowledge in the history of Nova Scotia. For too many years in this province, we looked at the NSLC as just people selling beer. In point of fact, Mr. Speaker, our government has made many reforms, including the creation of the corporation, which have changed the NSLC from an unresponsive organization not useful to Nova Scotians to one that provides good returns to Nova Scotians with great service and great products that assist our tourism industry.
The Honourable member of Cape Breton Nova, on your final supplementary.
Mr. Speaker, it really boggles the mind listening to that minister attempt to justify this practice. You know, Mr. Speaker, absolutely. And we all know who the president is, and we all know he got his job on his ability, Mr. Speaker.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
What Nova Scotians are looking for is transparency. What they're not getting, what most Nova Scotians are looking for is a real government oversight, which we're not getting, Mr. Speaker. Well, Mr. Speaker, through you, my question again is to the Premier. Will your government finally come to terms with the fact that Nova Scotians do not support these executive bonuses being awarded in secret?
The Honourable Premier.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. The line of questioning is quite entertaining, Mr. Speaker, because the member opposite gets up and accuses the government of not being transparent and accuses the government of secrecy. He asks the question of the minister, and he already had the answer, Mr. Speaker, because he, like any Nova Scotian, has access to the contract. And then he read from the contract, Mr. Speaker. The government will provide the information. The contracts are being made available, Mr. Speaker. What could be more transparent than all of that? So, Mr. Speaker, there's no secret here. We are paying people to do a good job because it's worth it to the people of Nova Scotia to have a good job done.
The Honourable Member for Annapolis.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Part of the new tourism campaign for the province of Nova Scotia asks the question, can a road be the path to enlightenment? Well, Mr. Speaker, I'd like to enlighten the minister as to the condition of our tourism infrastructure. An article that was distributed in a magazine dedicated to Harley-Davidson riders basically says, stay away from Nova Scotia. So my question is, what is the minister doing to ensure that the damage done by this article is being reversed?
The Honourable Minister of Tourism, Culture and Heritage.
Well, Mr. Speaker, I happen to have a May issue of the Thunder Press, Mr. Speaker, and these actually are two articles in response to the article that the member is referring to, speaking very highly of Nova Scotia and, in fact, our scenic beauty, our people, Mr. Speaker, and even in some cases a bit of our roads as well, Mr. Speaker, and I'll table that as well.
Order, please. Time allotted for question period has expired. The Honourable Member for Kings West on introduction.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's certainly a pleasure today to introduce for the second time the principal of Apple Blossom School, Mr. Charles Chester Friesen. Also with him today, a teacher, Mervyn Toes, and also Elaine Friesen, and the children from the Mennonite School in Black Rock, if they could rise and receive a warm applause of the House.
Thank you. Certainly welcome our special guests to the gallery today and hope they enjoyed the proceedings. Thank you. The Honourable Member for Halifax Needham on introduction.
Mr. Speaker, I'd like to draw the attention of members of the House to the West Gallery, where we're joined today by my constituency assistant, Bill Matheson, but also a very special guest from out of province, Kathy Klein.
Order, please. Order, please. The Honourable Member of Halifax Needham has the floor.
Kathy Klein, who is accompanying Bill here today, who is a Master's of Social Work student at the Dalhousie School of Social Work. And Kathy is studying here from the province of Saskatchewan, where she's worked as a social worker for more than 13 years. So I'd ask Kathy and Bill both to rise, and we'd extend a warm welcome to them.
Okay, we welcome our special guest to the gallery today, the Government Business, the Honourable Government House Leader.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, I move that you do now leave the chair in the House, resolve into committee of the whole House on supply.
Honourable Member for Halifax Fairview.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's a privilege to rise at this point to do something which is unusual in the House, which is to have the opportunity to speak about any subject really that happens to be on our mind. And what I'd like to do, I'd like to use my 15 minutes to get on the record about a number of issues that are important to the people who live in my constituency. Mr. Speaker, Cowie Hill is a very fine neighborhood of modest homes, and one of the things that adds to the beauty of Cowie Hill, Mr. Speaker, apart from the glorious views out over the Northwest Arm and over to the Halifax Peninsula, is the fact that all the electrical wiring on Cowie Hill is underground. which adds a very fine aesthetic quality to that neighborhood. Now, Mr. Speaker, this neighborhood of modest homes, very hardworking people, is under threat from Nova Scotia Power because the underground electrical system is due for a replacement, and Nova Scotia Power has indicated that they will not replace the wires underground, that the only thing that Nova Scotia Power will pay for is to take the underground wiring and put it above ground. In other words, to destroy the aesthetic quality of the neighborhood, to destroy one of the features that make Cowie Hill what it is. Nova Scotia Power says that if the residents want to continue with underground wiring, they're going to have to pay for it. And the cost estimates range anywhere from $2 to $3 million. When you divide it between all the homes on Cowie Hill, 400 some homes on Cowie Hill, it adds up to a substantial amount of money which very few of the homeowners are going to be able to afford. Some of the residents representing all the homeowners have filed a complaint with the Utility and Review Board, and well over a year ago, the Utility and Review Board scheduled a hearing in order to hear the complaint to determine who will have to pay for the replacement of the underground wiring. I'm pleased to say that the Halifax Regional Municipality has indicated their intention to get involved before the Utility and Review Board on behalf of the residents of Cowie Hill. And Mr. Speaker, it is time that the province of Nova Scotia did the same thing. I hope to have the opportunity next week to address this question to the Minister of Energy during question period. The good residents of Cowie Hill, whom I am pleased to represent, could well use the support of the province in their fight for underground wiring. During Hurricane Juan, the power in Cowie Hill was only out for an hour or two, when other parts of my constituency saw the power out for 3, 4, 5 days, some for as long as 2 weeks, Mr. Speaker. This issue deserves to be resolved. It deserves to be resolved in the favor of homeowners of Cowie Hill, and it's something I'm going to be working on with this government to get them involved the way the city government has been. Mr. Speaker, I'm pleased that my constituency of Halifax Fairview includes 1/3 of Long Lake Provincial Park, a very beautiful wilderness park which I share with the member for Halifax Atlantic and the member for Timberlea Prospect. It so happens that the part of that park that I represent is by far the most traveled part of the park. And as development has occurred along the western edge of my constituency, more and more people are living closer and closer to the park, and of course, the use of the park has gone up. Now that has created a problem, Mr. Speaker, because the park is currently without a management plan. Although it was declared as a provincial park in the mid-1980s, the park has never had a management plan. In fact, the Department of Natural Resources actually discourages use of the park because there are no trails, there's no way without a management plan to protect and promote the park adequately. And so it leads to the dilemma that people, hundreds, thousands of people use the park, but the Department of Natural Resources doesn't want them to. Now, this problem was only exacerbated after Hurricane Juan because, as there was throughout much of the rest of Halifax Regional Municipality, many, many trees came down in the park. And ever since then, Mr. Speaker, the park has been officially closed. Now, Hurricane Juan was in the fall of 2003, and the park has been officially closed ever since then. But hundreds, if not thousands of people continue to use the park. And it is not at all clear what the Department of Natural Resources' attitude towards this use is. I mean, for heaven's sake, Mr. Speaker, it is a wilderness park. People don't expect groomed trails. They don't expect things to be perfect. It's not unknown for people to have to walk over and around logs that have fallen across the trail naturally. And it's very hard to understand the attitude of the Department of Natural Resources. They appear to want